Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me today. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna film yesterday, but then got really busy. Didn't even have to do my walk because I had to run so many errands that I got all my steps in doing that. So, yeah. But, plus it was threatening to rain. So, yeah, I held off on that. I got to go for one this morning, so yeah. Feeling good now. Okay, just trying not to stitch over my line there. Not that it matters, I can. It's so thin, it's not like it'll make a bump, but it's easier to remove later if it's not completely stitched over. I will probably make a video at some point showing how I remove the gridding, since I made a video showing how I put in the gridding. Yeah, that was another reason why I went for this sulky thread rather than the fishing line, because the fishing line was a little bit bulkier, and I worry if you stitched over it that those stitches would be loose once you pulled it out. Obviously you don't want that, so. And it was kind of pulling at the holes. I don't know, maybe the kind I got wasn't thin enough. It was the thinnest one I could find at the store, but maybe it was still too thick. Yeah, I was a little concerned that if it pulled and distorted at the holes that I'd be left with holes in my finished piece, which you really don't want, so. Okay. Actually, I'm going to start down here. Then my thread will end up down there more easily, so. Yeah, it's a gorgeous day here today, actually. Not too hot, or at least not when I took my walk in the morning, but it's still nice and sunny. Oh yeah, lots of garage sales going on now, I guess, now that the weather's finally nice. Yeah, I don't go to those anymore because I don't need any more stuff. Yeah, I used to a lot, but mostly hoping people had books. But I don't really read paper books that much anymore, so not really much point anymore. And yeah, I did a huge house purge a few years ago, 2017, I think. So yeah, I really don't want to be buying more clutter that I don't really need. So well, I hope those people have better luck than I did. I had a garage sale a few years back. I was finally selling off baby stuff, you know, playpen and change table and that kind of stuff. The first day I did not so bad on the Saturday, and then I set up again on the Sunday, and all I sold was one pair of shoes for $5. So I was like, well, that was a total waste of 6 hours. Oh. And then people said, you know, maybe I could sell it on Kijiji or eBay, but I was like, you know what? That's a lot of work. You know, and you got to list them, and you got to take pictures of them. You got to figure out how much to charge people, and I just, blah. So I asked some friends if they wanted them who had kids who were younger for some of the clothes and things. And then I just ended up taking it to the thrift store. Figured, you know what, they can use it. Supports a good cause, so let them have it. Yeah, it was kind of a shame because some of those clothes, of course, were barely worn because, you know, kids grow so quickly. And like he'd have, you know, a few sets of, say, footed pajamas, but he had his favorites that he wore over and over. So maybe he had 6 pairs of them, but he only wore like 2 of them. I even had a couple of the tags were still on. So he still likes his onesie pajamas. Yeah, he has a dinosaur one that has a tail and a hood. So it's pretty cute. And he has a Minion one, which again also has a hood. And a Minecraft creeper, although he's almost outgrown that one. Oh, and his favorite is a Yoshi onesie. I think I got it. I don't know where I got it from, actually. I was thinking ThinkGeek, but maybe not. They're not around anymore, unfortunately. Yeah, they're defunct. But anyway, yeah, it's got a tail and it's got a hood. And he actually used his Halloween costume as well when they had at school where you could wear your costume. Yeah, so he got to be super comfy. He got to go in his pajamas. Yeah, that Yoshi onesie got for Christmas a few years ago, and it was an adult one because that was the only size I could find. They didn't have any kids ones, but I guess it worked out because at 15 he can still wear it. He got it when he was like 7 or 8, so yeah. Yeah, it's funny. He always used to play Yoshi as his Mario Kart character. But then now he got into Animal Crossing for a while, so now he likes to be Isabelle. Yeah, my husband and they got into Animal Crossing. I don't know. I guess I'm not really a Sims kind of game person. Never really have been. So I prefer games with stories like Legend of Zelda and stuff. Final Fantasy. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, actually. They said Final Fantasy because somebody said, why is it called Final Fantasy when there's like, 13 of them or whatever? And it was, well, because what I heard, I don't know how true this is, but what I heard is that the company was going to go under. So they made one last game and called it Final Fantasy. It ended up being such a smash hit that it kept them afloat. And so, yeah, that's been their signature series ever since. Yeah, Final Fantasy X is one of my favorite games. Played it on the PS2. Actually, there's a remastered version for Switch that we have, but I haven't played it yet. But I will replay it. Although my husband said, unfortunately, he played it and he said the graphics are definitely better, but he said they didn't fix the lip sync because a lot of the video, they just used the Japanese animation and just overdubbed it with English. So, of course, the mouth movements do not match. So sometimes it's quite laughable how bad the lip sync is. They did for some of them, and some of them they didn't. It was kind of random as to whether they... But yeah, I guess with the remaster, all they did was give it better graphics. They didn't actually change any of the programming. So that's why the lip sync still doesn't fit. If it was a part that wasn't made to fit in the original release. Oh, it was funny. When I was a kid, I remember we had one channel on the cable package that was French. And so they would have some original French programming, but they had a lot of stuff that was just English programming dubbed over in French. And I didn't know it was dubbed. So I remember asking my dad, I'm like, how come French people can keep talking when their mouth isn't moving? I was like maybe 6. because yeah, a lot of stuff in French takes more words to say it than in English. I remember learning that in school. They said in English you say the Montreal Canadiens for the sports team, and they would say the Canadiens de Montréal, right? The Canadians from Montreal. So that's one extra word in there compared. They say things opposite a lot of times. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not very proficient in French. Like I've said before, I can usually catch enough words to sort of figure out the gist of what someone is saying, but if I try to actually speak it, it's hopeless. And apparently I heard that's a ADHD thing. Makes it harder to learn language. I thought, okay, well now I don't feel so bad that I have tried to learn other languages and it just doesn't stick. And especially after having studied French in school, my brain just says, well, the word in your other language is this, and it goes to the French word if I know it. Yeah, so. Yeah, I remember there was one time a discussion saying, you know, if you could have some kind of superhero power, what would you pick? And people had all sorts of, a lot of people said things like invisibility or teleportation. And I said, universal translator. I said, imagine if you could speak and understand and be completely fluent in any language. And I had quite a few people, oh, I didn't think of that, but, you know, I'd like that. So. Yeah, my husband is bilingual. He speaks Hungarian and English fluently. Well, he was born in Hungary and then they came here when he was 5, so. But it's easier to learn a second language when you're younger. Yeah, and his parents went on to have more kids here, but they all speak both. They're all bilingual, so that's, yeah, that's pretty cool. I tried to learn some, but it just, like I said, it doesn't stick. I tried the Duolingo as well, because I know a lot of people really like that app, but I tried it for a couple of months, and I swear nothing stuck in my head. They would say, okay, let's review, and I'm like, I don't remember any of this. But yeah, I do know some people have had success in that. I have one friend who's learning Hebrew that way, so that's pretty cool. And they've been at it for a couple of years, so yeah, they said it's coming along, so I guess they have a brain that's better at it. Yeah, or I had somebody I went to high school with said they spent a year in Quebec. And they said, yeah, the French that we learn here and how they actually speak it in Quebec is very different. You know, she would get people being like, wow, you're kind of pretentious because the way we're taught is quite formal. And then the way people actually speak, of course, is more slang and such. I guess to them it was coming across as if you're saying, you know, dost thou have a glass of water instead of, do you have a glass of water? You know. So yeah, she said that took some getting used to. I did see they had some kind of device somebody had made that goes in your ear like a hearing aid that can apparently translate some languages to other languages. So kind of like a precursor to, like on Star Trek, where they have the universal translator. So yeah, I thought that'd be kind of neat. Or I saw an app somebody had where you could scan the words with your phone and it would display it in a different language on the screen. So they were actually showing a live picture of it where it was scanning like some Spanish or something and translating it to English, which was really cool. Yeah, it was actually this little special they were doing about could Star Trek technology exist one day? Like, is it theoretically possible? And so they're saying universal translator, maybe, you know. And they had a cloaking thing where it showed they had a bunch of, was it mirrors or something set up to sort of bend the light around an object, so it did look like you, so you really couldn't see it. But I mean, it had to be in a specific position and such. So they're like saying theoretically it is possible to sort of bend the light around something and give it the optical illusion of not being visible. But if you could make it work, that's still a long ways in the future. The one I always wonder is transporter technology. That's one I'm not convinced could be possible, because you're like, to reconstruct a brain accurately, it sounds like it would just take too much processing power. And there's so much about the brain we don't know. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I remember there was an episode of House where they hooked this person up to this machine, and after it had read brain patterns for a long time, it could start to see images, very, very fuzzy images. But like, then they said, okay, think of somebody throwing a ball, and you could see this sort of ghostly figure out of the sort of what looked like static, and it showed a picture, it showed an image of them, you know, throwing a ball, or an actual like moving image of them. So that was kind of cool. It wasn't like, you know, scan it and it shows up like a movie scene on a screen, but yeah, that was really cool. And apparently, yeah, they're saying theoretically that could be possible, but that it's very varied across different people, so that it had to be, you couldn't just take somebody, hook them up and see what they're thinking. It has to read their brain patterns for quite a while before it can start to extrapolate anything that makes sense, which I thought was more plausible, because we think so differently. Like, there's some people who think entirely in images. There's some people who don't see images in their brain at all. There's some people who think in words, and some who don't. I actually had my mind quite blown one time, because I asked my husband, okay, so you're fluent in both languages. What language do you think in? And he said, I don't think in words. And I was just like, wait, what? Because I always think in words. There's images, but there's words too, almost always. So that was really mind-blowing. And there's one of my friends who said they're quite face blind, so they have a hard time recognizing people, and they don't see images in their head. And they're saying maybe that's why, because they can't store an image of what that person's face looks like in their head. So they said it can be kind of tough, because a friend will see them out and about and they'll think that they're ignoring them. And I said, well, it's not that I'm ignoring them. It's that I didn't even recognize them unless they came up and started talking to me, that I wouldn't know who they are. Just thought, wow, that's wild to me. But I guess goes to show you how they've often said how unreliable eyewitness identification is, because our memory definitely doesn't play back like a tape or a recording. We like to think that it does, but yeah, there was even one I remember I was reading about that said that when you remember something, you're actually remembering the last time that you remembered it and not the actual incident itself. And that explains why you have memory drift, right? Details can get muddy or changed over time, because you're basically almost like making a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. And obviously when you do that, there's going to be flaws and imperfections in those copies. So I thought that was really interesting. But then I guess the people who have like photographic memory, that doesn't happen. They actually remember the original. It's rare, but I remember there was an episode on Flashpoint. It's a Canadian show. And where, yeah, these people wanted to steal some corporate secrets. And of course, there was no way they could get a camera or any kind of recording device into the facility. It was just too secure. But they managed to sneak this guy in who had a photographic memory. Like when he was a child, he'd been taken to a museum and seen the Rosetta Stone. And when he came home, he had drawn it and made a perfect replica of like all the markings and everything on it, even though obviously he didn't understand it. So Yeah, although it was kind of hard for him, so he had to live basically isolated because, like, we all have, bad things happen and then they fade over time. But for him, memories don't fade and it's very overwhelming. So he had like basically blank walls in his house and he kept the curtains drawn and he was very secluded because it was too much overload. Yeah, so I guess sometimes we like to think of having a perfect memory, but I guess it's got drawbacks. And I mean, yeah, how many times have we watched a movie and there's a favorite quote, and then when you get to that point, it's not said quite the way that you thought it was said? It's the same gist, but you thought you had the words memorized word for word, and it turns out, no, you didn't. Some of that drift came in. Although, yeah, my husband said he didn't like arguing with me because my memory is really good for that stuff. So I can remember generally word for word what you said years ago. I remember because one of my friends told me a funny story and then I referenced it later and she's like, wait, what? And I had to remind her of the story she told me. It was we were talking about when our kids are learning to talk, and of course it's not always clear what they're saying. And she said one of her daughter kept asking for, it sounded like she was asking for Christmas bears. And she's saying, we don't have any Christmas bears. And then one of her other kids had to translate, no, Mom, she's asking for a Rice Krispie square. And so then one time we went to like a mom's group and she brought Rice Krispie squares. And I said, oh, Christmas bears. And she looks at me like, what? And I said, well, don't you remember when you were saying your daughter was asking for one? It sounded like Christmas bears. She said, oh, geez, I completely forgot that. She said, okay, you're my archive. I'll just tell you all my kids' funny stories and you'll remember them forever. So yeah, it's kind of a running joke now. Rice Krispie squares are Christmas bears forever. Yeah, so I won't remember what your name is, a lot of times, or when your birthday is, or any like special dates like that. But yeah, you tell me a story like that, I'll never forget it. Yeah, it takes me a while to remember people's name. I've tried the trick where they said you look at the person's face and you imagine their name written on their forehead. But for me, it doesn't work. Or by the time I remember to do that, I'm like, oh, well, shoot, what's their name again? And I mean, they just told me, so it'd be pretty embarrassing to ask. I said, maybe that's one reason I like online socializing and Facebook so much. The name is right there next to the picture. So, yeah, I said I've had that when it's like, oh, find me on Facebook, me. How do you spell your name? Because I've completely forgotten what their name was. They're like, the normal way, me. Could you spell it for me anyway? And they're like, okay. Sarah. Oh, me. Ooh, I should have known that. Sarah's pretty easy, right? Ooh. I couldn't even ask, is it Sarah with an H or not? Because I couldn't remember that it was Sarah, And I feel real bad that they greet me by name, even though we've only met in person, once or twice. And I'm like, shoot, I can't remember your name. I'm sorry. So often I'll just tell them to find me on Facebook and I'll, they'll open their phone and I'll spell my name for them and they'll find me. And then that way I know what their name is now. Although, yeah, I have friends who change their names sometimes and then I'm like, I can't remember who you are. Or they have an alternate account or whatever. And it's like, I half the time do not remember that you and this other account are the same person. Yeah, because like sometimes people, they get 24-hour bans or whatever for saying the wrong thing, even though the algorithm's gone a little overboard. Oh, like there was one group that was about exterminating like fleas and roaches, and they had in the rules, you have to be very careful. You cannot say bug bomb because the algorithm will automatically tag the word bomb as being espousing violence, even though you're talking about killing termites or whatever, not committing violence against people. But yeah, it's automatically flagged to those words. And so Yeah, the algorithm's gone quite overboard. There's sometimes it's like I can't even figure what was your problem with what I said. Like, oh, I mentioned frustration with my husband snoring once, and apparently I was inciting violence. Like, guys, it was hyperbole. I didn't say I was actually going to kill him. Ah. So, yeah, I got a 24-hour ban for that, so yikes. It's like, of course I'm not going to actually kill him. Jeez. Yeah, so that's sometimes why you'll see people use words that sound weird, is because, yeah, they're trying not to get caught by the algorithm, even though if what they're saying is basically harmless, but certain words, it overdoes it. It's wild though, because I mean, I guess it's different now, but I had years ago that I would report comments for bullying that were clearly obviously bullying, and they would tell me, nope, doesn't go against community standards, but then say bug bomb and you get a 3-day ban. I'm like, go figure. Ugh. Like when I reported it for, bullying, I don't think somebody's actually going to track me down and, hurt me, but they said they were going to. Why is that allowed? Ugh. That's like I didn't even do anything. Jeez. I don't think I'm that offensive. But yeah. Well, sometimes people like to lash out behind a keyboard, right? Makes them feel tough or whatever. I just feel sorry for people like that. Okay. 793. But yeah, it's funny because like I was saying before, I have friends who change their names on Facebook a lot. And I always say, well, I never dead name anybody because I can't remember what it is. Yeah. After I've seen your new name beside your picture, half a dozen times, that's who you've always been to me. I don't remember what you used to call yourself. Oh my gosh. What's really hard is when somebody changes their name and their profile picture at the same time, and now I'm just like, who the heck are you? Obviously I know you if you're on my friends list, but now I don't know who you are. Especially when they change both names, not just the first name, but last name too. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't have an alternate account on mine. So far, I've been good enough to not get in that big of trouble. Or somebody said the weird one is when you find a meme on Facebook and you repost it and then you get in trouble and it's like, okay, but I found it on your site. Ugh. Or I've been having this weird glitch lately where on my phone lock screen, it'll give me a notification, so-and-so mentioned you in a comment or whatever. Then when I tap on the notification, it just opens Facebook. It doesn't go anywhere. So I go to my notifications list. It's not there. Go back to the lock screen. It's disappeared. Like it never happened. It's like, first couple times I thought maybe it's just my goldfish brain that thought I saw a notification and there wasn't one. So then the last time I actually took a screenshot before I unlocked the phone and then looked, and same thing. And then when I went back and looked, okay, so there was supposedly a notification there, but it didn't take me anywhere. I'm thinking because it's usually people that I'm not friends with mentioning me in a comment, so it'd be probably on a public post. I'm thinking it might be where they have, the reels where it pulls things from other sites like Instagram and TikTok, and they're public. And then when people comment to me, it doesn't load properly. I think maybe there's a sync problem or something. Because yeah, I had one where a bunch of people replied to some comment I made, and then it wasn't until months later that I got a new notification, took me there, and yeah, people have been replying to the comment for the last, couple of weeks, and it wouldn't take me there. So yeah, weird glitches. I had someone say maybe it's my phone, which is possible, but oops, bonk. But I don't know. It only happens with Facebook notifications and not notifications on other apps, so I'm inclined to blame them. Oh yeah, more of a standing tree here. That's why the colors are kind of going vertically in this bit. Just kind of working my way out. Okay, I think technically those are in this diagonal, but I'm just gonna leave them. Won't close anything in to just do them later, so that's what I'm gonna do. Sometimes I just feel like that. Yeah, so again, see, not perfectly straight, but I'm gonna go to this part here. Just carry on from there. Got some bigger in a row sections. Oh, a whole bunch of people walking by right now. Wonder if it's a class that's out or not. Or some kind of walking club or something. I don't know. It is a lovely day. Yeah, they're finally finishing with the fiber optics around town. Some people took longer than others to get it hooked up. Because, yeah, TELUS, which is our major phone and internet provider, has been switching all of their cabling to fiber optic. So now they're finally going around filling in all the little, they had open holes everywhere that they had to cover with pieces of plywood saying open hole, and has, you know, 2x4 sticking up and fluorescent tape on it. And my husband was saying, for Pete's sake, we had that there sort of right beside the end of our driveway for months, close to a year. And then he said the day before they came around to finally fill that in was the day he backed into it with the truck. Oh, like, for Pete's sake, isn't that always the way? But yeah, so they had a truck going around with had like a chute coming off the back, and then filling them up with dirt, and then they put either a grass or like a concrete cap on it. Finally closed those off. Yeah, they've been at that for like a year all around town. Our town isn't ginormous. It's 30,000 people. So bigger. Well, technically it's called a city. For some people that's not considered very big, but in Canada our towns are cities are a lot smaller. So yeah, I'm not sure where the cutoff is to change something from a town to a city. I do know they said that it's a town if it has a church, and it's a hamlet if it doesn't, was what I read. So they could be the same number of people living there. But yeah, I thought that was actually quite interesting. That's what the delineation is. So I'm going to have to look that up, where they draw the line between town and city. So I know the difference between city or a city and hamlet, so, or town and hamlet, so, or village. Okay. Yeah, we have a lot of little villages and stuff here that were named by First Nations, the indigenous people. So you've got 2 hills, 3 hills, many berries, Cooking Lake. There's even a village of Eyebrow. I guess that's the shape or something. I don't know. But yeah, my husband was joking, saying they have 2 hills and 3 hills, but they don't have 1 hill. So, well, that'd be kind of hard to differentiate from all the other hills, right? Mm. Or it was interesting. I heard there's so many places in the UK named on Avon because the word by the locals for river was Avon, but they thought it was an actual proper name for a river. So yeah, you're saying it's somewhere on the river. So if you say Avon River, you're really saying river. Kind of like I said, it always bothered me when people called it a SIN number. We don't have social insurance numbers, or we don't have social security numbers. We have social insurance number in Canada, SIN. But then people would say SIN number. I'm like, so social insurance number? Being pedantic. Or yeah, my sister would say she hates when people call it the ATM machine because that stands for automatic teller machine. So you're saying automatic teller machine. Language is weird. Or I remember she said, snowplow makes no sense that it should be pronounced that way. Because, you know, they're all OW at the end. One is pronounced one way, one is pronounced the other, because probably the words come from different root languages would be my guess. But yeah, so she said it should be either snowplow or snowplow. That's what somebody said too, Sean Bean. He should either be Sean Bean or Sean Bon. Yeah, that was funny. I read a article. He had said where he refuses to die in movies anymore because he's died in so many. You know, he was kind of like the red shirt of everything. Like, yeah, that's fair. I guess you get kind of sick of being typecast as the guy who always dies. And they say, yeah, he's been in a lot of movies where his character didn't get killed off, but that is what he's known for nowadays. So I have 2 threads of this yellow, but I did that on purpose. Because, yeah, you could see they kind of go in 2 paths there, so. Oh, goodness. Okay, stop splitting on me. Gotcha. There we go. Just needed to trim a nice fresh edge to start with. Okay. Get myself a wee bit more comfortable here. So once again, passing the halfway mark is right about here, across the width. So passing that once again. Woohoo! Yeah, we're coming on to 2/3 now. Still a fair amount of this color on this pattern. Yeah, the very light pinks and whites, I'm coming closer to the end of those. But this yellow, I guess, is more prevalent across this pattern. Okay, so that's a fairly long piece. Oh, that's funny. There. Had some, yeah, marked in there that were showing as filled in sort of to the right, and they were not. Yeah, you just put it back to the move setting and sort of wiggle it around a bit. It generally fixes itself. At least if it's a supported pattern. Okay, a whole bunch in a row. And then I can end off that thread. I've got a bee trying to get in my bay window there. No, it's closed. Yeah, they don't hit it hard enough usually to hurt themselves. They kind of bounce off. But we had a bird that, yeah, flew right into our window. It was actually right next to where my son was sitting on the couch. Scared the heck out of him. Yeah, poor thing. It did not survive, unfortunately. Okay, 3822. Okay, nice. Enough to just do 2 more stitches there. So even though it's kind of out of the diagonal, I'll do that, then I can end off that thread. I won't have to rethread it later. join a new thread to do those, but it'll be in the next diagonal. I'll try that again. There we go. Okay, so 2 of these. That one's a fairly decent length. This one I'm going to go along the lower path. Oh, very uneven. There. Oh, goodness. There we go. Three, 3, 4, 8. Oh my gosh. There we go. Oh, I thought that would be threaded, but it wasn't. No, you are just not going to come out. Still attached, are you? No. Too short. Here we go. Okay. I think we'll do these, and that might be a good stopping place. Quite a lot done this session. Woohoo! Moving right along. Time to move my frame again soon, I think. Yeah, I have more room in my frame to do more diagonals, but I find once I'm kind of holding my left arm up off my cushions, my stack of cushions, then it gets too tired, and so I'd rather just go to the trouble of shifting all my fabric over in the frame so that it's more comfortable to work rather than straining myself. Even though I don't like moving my fabric because it's a bit of a production. I gotta take it out of the clamp stand and take off the grime guards and unroll it and move it and then roll it back up on the edges and put the grime guards back on and put it back in the clamp stand. But in the end, it's worth it to keep from getting pain from stitching. We don't want that. Okay, so mark that right there. Nice, over 150 done today. Awesome. So again, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you here again another time. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.